Today, we're diving into a really fascinating and honestly pretty tricky idea from the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche. It's a paradox that might just flip how you think about your own best qualities. He basically asks, what if your greatest strengths are the ones you don't even know you have?
So let's start right there with that provocative question, because it really gets to the core of what Nietzsche was talking about in Aphorism 8 of The Gay Science. He wants us to think about something really radical. What if the very act of knowing you have a virtue, of being self-aware about your own strengths, is the very thing that poisons it?
And there it is, the central argument. Nietzsche basically saw our best qualities as these wild, powerful instincts. They thrive when we're not looking, when they're just part of our nature. But the second we notice one and we drag it out into the open to analyze it and give it a name, well, that's when it starts to lose its magic, its raw power.
All right, so let's get into it. What on earth did Nietzsche really mean by an unconscious virtue? I mean, it sounds like a contradiction, right? How can you be good if you don't even know you're doing it?
See, for Nietzsche, a real virtue isn't some moral calculation you make. It's not about following the rules or trying to be a good person. No, it's an instinct. It's raw. It's authentic. Think about a lion's courage. A lion doesn't sit there and decide to be brave. It just is brave. It's a fundamental part of its being, not some conscious choice it makes.
And when you look at these characteristics, it becomes pretty clear we're not talking about your typical Sunday school virtues, are we? This is more like a force of nature. It doesn't care about ego, it doesn't care what society thinks, it's just this pure, powerful expression of life. And maybe, most importantly, it's a mystery, even to you.
Okay, so if these unconscious instincts are so powerful, what happens when we spot one? You know, what happens when that wild, untamed virtue gets named, gets praised, and gets dragged into the spotlight of our own mind?
This is where it all starts to go wrong, according to Nietzsche. The second we point to something and say, hey, look, that was so generous, or wow, you're so brave, that's the moment we put a leash on it. The label itself starts to domesticate that wild instinct. It cages it.
And why is that? Well, it's because our conscious, thinking mind, what he calls the intellectual conscience, is just too slow. It's like a sports analyst trying to break down a lightning-fast play in slow motion. By the time our brain shows up with its little notebook to analyze the action and label it good, the moment is already over. The raw, spontaneous impulse has vanished.
So you really have this stark contrast, a tale of two virtues. On one side, you have that unconscious instinct. It's pure, it's wild, a true force of nature. And on the other side, you have the conscious virtue. It's been labeled, it's been tamed, and worse, it's been turned into a social tool. It becomes something you perform for others.
And this whole taming process, well, it leads directly to one of Nietzsche's most scathing critiques of all. The idea that most of what we call morality is actually just a big public show. It's theater.
He lays out this whole progression, and it's kind of tragic when you think about it. It starts with this powerful, wicked act. And by wicked, he just means wild and untamed, not evil. Then our brain swoops in to analyze it. Society slaps a nice, clean, virtuous label on it, and boom, just like that, the raw instinct dies and is replaced by a calculated performance.
And here's the real poison pill in all of this. The second we become aware of our own goodness, we can't help but get a little vain about it. We start acting to protect our reputation as a good person, not because the impulse is still there. The motivation completely shifts from pure instinct to pure ego.
All right, so you might want to buckle up, because this is where Nietzsche really turns the tables. This is probably his most radical and, for a lot of people, most unsettling idea. That our most celebrated virtues are actually fueled by our darkest, most dangerous passions.
You know, take a virtue like courage. We all have a pretty standard, clean definition for it. It's noble, it's good, it's about facing fear. But Nietzsche would say, well, hold on. Let's look under the hood. Let's see what's really powering that engine.
Yeah. He suggests that what we call courage might just be a pretty label we slap on something like a deep inner restlessness, maybe even a secret love of conflict. Things we would normally call flaws, suddenly, these so-called vices become the hidden source of our virtues.
And if you follow that logic, it means that the people who achieve the most, the ones who really make a dent in the world, they're not the ones who are constantly navel-gazing. They're not stopping to ask, am I a good person? They're often blind to their own inner workings. They're just driven. They just act.
So if analyzing ourselves weakens us and our virtues are just vices in disguise, what are we supposed to do? Just stumble around in the dark? Well, for Nietzsche, the answer is kinda yeah. The answer is to embrace the mystery inside you.
He warns us that our modern obsession with finding ourselves, with shining a light into every single dark corner of our psyche, is a huge mistake. A person with no secrets from themselves would actually be pretty shallow. We need those shadows. That's where depth and dignity and the potential for real greatness come from.
So here's the ultimate goal, the big takeaway. True virtue, in this Nietzschean sense, isn't about being a good person. It's about being a force of nature. It's about acting with power and conviction without constantly stopping to check your reflection in the mirror of morality to see how you look.
And this is the ideal he's pushing for, a life that is just one big, instinctive yes to your own inner drives. A life that isn't weighed down by the need to label itself, to analyze itself, or to pat itself on the back for being good. It's not about being a dead category, it's about being an active, creative force in the world.
So that leaves us with one final, and I think really challenging question to chew on. In all our efforts to be good, according to society's rules, what powerful, authentic, maybe even truly great parts of ourselves are we taming, suppressing, and keeping on a leash?